I noticed that some of your podcast episodes, you found people to talk about that had found you through the podcast. It's really become this like full circle interactive thing. Is that exciting to you to see
Yeah,
that?
very much,
Yeah.
very much. I mean, 2 points. First of all, committing to do it every day for a year,
Hmm.
I didn't know what the show was going to look like as it went along. It's not like I had 300 plus episodes identified. I had like 30
Hmm.
identified,
Right.
and I was like, hopefully, I'm going to find the rest of the people. So it was a bit of a risk there, but it was really good because, as you said, listening to the show began referring other folks, and so I feel like it's this self-reinforcing kind of
Hmm.
thing, which is great. So I actually really love to hear stories like that of somebody who's like, I just stumbled on this podcast and like now I have this project that's making money. Like I think that's great.
The notion of having a side hustle or a side job or a side gig or a second job is certainly nothing new. But the term side hustle seems to be really hot right now, like it's a buzzword right now. Is it something to do with modern economy, something to do with the job market as it is in the US and the world right now? Is it about just being enthusiastic about starting a business?
I think you've actually hit on the twin reasons for why there's such a convergence of it. The first one is like this is a time of uncertainty and anxiety. Even though certain economic numbers are good, people still feel kind of worried, and people just understand like I can't trust my well-being to a corporation, even if I love my job. Like maybe I love my job, I have a good company I work for, but nobody's going to care about my well-being as much as me. And combining that with just the fact that this is much more mainstream than it ever used to be. And like when I started doing this stuff like 20 years ago, I didn't know a lot of other people who were doing it. And obviously there were people doing it, but it just wasn't common. Whereas now you can go into Starbucks and every coffee shop on the corner and like there's 7 people in there like doing their little hustle and like they're setting up a coaching call or they're taking PayPal payments or whatever. And so I think it's just become much more accessible. E-commerce adoption has grown so much. Like my grandma has a PayPal account.
As someone who wants to start a side hustle, they have to ask themselves, am I really bringing someone value or am I just making it up as I go along?
Well, value is the key word,
Yeah.
and value essentially means helping people. Like value is one of these like another buzzword that is dropped all the time in business speak. And like, what does value mean? Like, essentially means helpfulness, usefulness, improving someone's life. Well, I see the problem being much more the other way, like people just not feeling confident and people feeling like, am I good enough to do this? So I think it's much better to help people like look at the skills that they have and like, what is your life experience? What are you good at? What are people asking you about all the time? Because that very often can be where your side hustle can come from. It's not so much like going out and acquiring a bunch of new skills. Like, don't make an app if you don't know how to code.
Right.
That's the other thing. People are like, I want to make an app. Like, are you a web developer? No. Do you know how to code? No. Well, maybe do something different.
What are some of the biggest roadblocks that you're seeing people encountering who want to start a side hustle? You mentioned that they feel like they don't have the confidence. That seems like a roadblock.
Yep, I think that's a big one. I think also not knowing what to do. Like I've got an idea, but what do I actually do with that idea? Maybe also not understanding like the connection between an idea and an offer, which is very much something I'm trying to take people through the 27-step process. Like we as consumers, if you just think about it as a person, you don't buy ideas. Like there's no idea store you go and you buy ideas. Like you buy products, you buy services, and you buy those products and services in response to an offer. The offer is like, here's the product for this price, exchange money and you get this. So I'm trying to help people like really quickly go from thinking about general vague ideas to thinking about offers. So that's one. And then maybe, well, you said the confidence, that was one. So there's two. So I would say the third one is just the perception that it takes money to do this, that it's going to take this expertise that you don't have. There's some, legislation or some like regulation that prevents you from starting your side hustle. Just maybe a lack of understanding that you can do this, with the skills that you have without spending money, and it's actually a great thing.
Do you also see certain recurring mistakes that people seem to make? Yeah, like what would those be? And hopefully they should avoid.
Right. Maybe not thinking enough about that value question in the beginning. Like, I never use the phrase like follow your passion, follow your dream. Like it's important to do something that you're motivated to do. I think that's important, but it also has to be, valuable and helpful to other people. So maybe some people are like, what do I like to do? Oh, I like to do this. Therefore, that's my side hustle. Not necessarily, So I tend to encourage people to focus a bit more on problems, like what bothers you, what frustrates you, what pissed you off today, what is inefficient, what could be made better. if you start thinking about that, that tends to align a lot closer to like thinking about actual business ideas, actual, offers that you can make. So let's say that's something. And then maybe the failure to actually put something forward. Like I'm trying to encourage people to launch before they feel ready, because you're never going to feel super ready. You're never going to feel like it's perfect. So maybe that's another common, misconception that comes from the startup world, that you're supposed to validate before you begin. A lot of these things you can't validate. The response from the market is the validation.
So you launch the side hustle and you're testing it essentially to see if it will work, and sometimes it doesn't, so you move on or you pivot or something like that.
Yeah, because the risk is low.
Yeah.
You haven't spent a ton of money. You haven't spent a ton of time. You've spent, and if it really doesn't work out, you ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? Okay, it's a learning experience. All right, I'm going to take that knowledge into my next project, and hopefully the next one will work. I feel that anything that we can do to remove pressure from people actually helps them to maybe take action on that side hustle idea.
What piece of advice would you tell someone who's looking to start a hustle? Just like, what's step number one?
To determine your side hustle goal, because people are doing this thing for all kinds of different reasons. And some people, just want to make some extra money, which is fine and well. It's great. They want to pay off debt or whatever. Other people actually are trying to create like a significant second recurring source of income. Other people are trying to replace their full-time income and eventually go into it. The most important thing I would say to them is, well, you need this. Like, you understand that a second income is important and good. But I would also say that you're equipped to do that. Like, you already have those skills that you need. And all I try to do is pull those skills out and show people how to apply them in different ways. So I'm not really giving anybody skills. I'm helping them find it themselves so they can do it. This is important for your life, and you should try to find a way to take the next step.